In what seems to be an ever-growing list of legal battles, Donald Trump is now facing a new defamation lawsuit, this time filed by none other than the infamous Central Park Five. The lawsuit comes decades after the notorious case that captured the attention of the entire nation. Trump, who has long been known for his bold and often controversial remarks, revisited this old case during a recent presidential debate, where he falsely claimed that the Central Park Five had pled guilty at trial, despite clear evidence proving their innocence. This reckless comment has opened yet another legal Pandora's box for the former president, placing him at the center of yet another high-stakes defamation case. The lawsuit filed in Pennsylvania could cost him millions, if not more, as it seems to have a strong foundation of evidence. Trump's history with defamatory claims is extensive, and this new case may prove to be one of the most serious blows to his already beleaguered reputation. With the recent success of defamation lawsuits, such as the one filed by Jean Carroll, this lawsuit from the Central Park may 5th be another significant financial and reputational hit. The stakes are high for Trump, who continues to battle legal challenges on multiple fronts, and for the plaintiffs, who have long sought justice for the slander and falsehoods that have followed them for decades. In this video, we will break down Trump's latest legal entanglement, examining the historical context of the Central Park Five case, the legal standards for defamation, the strength of the lawsuit, and how this could all play out in court. Buckle up, because this legal battle promises to be a wild ride through the ever-controversial world of Donald Trump. Before diving into the lawsuit itself, it is essential to revisit the history of the Central Park Five case to understand the gravity of Trump's statements. In 1989, 5 teenage boys, Kevin Richardson, Antron McCray, Yusef Salaam, Raymond Santana, and Corey Wise, were wrongfully accused of a brutal sexual assault in Central Park. The crime shocked the nation, and the media frenzy that followed only fueled the flames of a highly charged and racially polarized trial. The boys, who were between the ages of 14 and 16 at the time, were coerced into making confessions that would later prove to be false. Despite their pleas of innocence, they were convicted and sentenced to lengthy prison terms. The case became a symbol of racial injustice and the failures of the criminal justice system, especially when DNA evidence and the confession of the real perpetrator, Matias Reyes, led to their full exoneration in 2002. Trump played a significant role in stoking the fires of public opinion at the time. In 1989, he took out full-page ads in 4 major New York City newspapers calling for the death penalty for the 5 boys, despite the lack of solid evidence against them. His involvement in the case made him a central figure in the narrative of injustice that surrounded the boys' wrongful conviction. Fast forward to 2023, during a presidential debate with Kamala Harris, Trump once again brought up the Central Park Five, claiming that they had pled guilty at trial, a statement that is categorically false. The men had consistently maintained their innocence throughout their ordeal, and they were ultimately vindicated after spending years in prison for a crime they did not commit. Defamation, the legal framework. To understand the potential implications of this lawsuit, we must first break down the legal definition of defamation and how it applies in this case. Defamation, in the legal sense, involves the communication of a false statement that harms the reputation of an individual or group. In the case of public figures like Trump and the Central Park Five, there are additional hurdles to overcome, as public figures are held to a higher standard in defamation cases. There are 4 key elements that the plaintiffs, the Central Park Five, must prove to win their defamation lawsuit against Trump. 1. A false statement. The plaintiffs must show that Trump made a false statement about them. In this case, Trump falsely claimed that the Central Park Five pled guilty at trial, which is demonstrably untrue. The 5 men maintained their innocence from the beginning, and their convictions were eventually overturned. 2. Publication to a third party. The false statement must be communicated to someone other than the person or group being defamed. In this case, Trump's statements were made during a televised presidential debate, broadcast to millions of viewers around the world. 3. Fault. For public figures like the Central Park Five, the plaintiffs must prove that the defendant, Trump, acted with actual malice. This means that Trump either knew that his statement was false or acted with reckless disregard for the truth. Given that the exoneration of the Central Park Five has been widely reported for years, it is hard to argue that Trump did not know the truth. 4. Damages. Finally, the plaintiffs must prove that they suffered harm as a result of the false statement. This harm could be monetary, reputational, or emotional. Given the high-profile nature of Trump's comments, it is likely that the Central Park Five will be able to show that they suffered significant harm as a result of his false statements. Trump's long history with defamation. This is not Trump's first brush with defamation lawsuits. In fact, he has been involved in several high-profile defamation cases in recent years, most notably the case brought by E. Jean Carroll. In that case, Trump was sued for defamation after he publicly denied Carroll's accusation that he had sexually assaulted her in the 1990s. Trump's public denials, coupled with his disparaging remarks about Carroll, led to a defamation lawsuit that resulted in a $5 million judgment against him. But that was just the beginning. Trump doubled down on his comments, even after the initial judgment, leading Carroll to file a second defamation lawsuit, which resulted in an $83 million judgment against him. The fact that Trump has continued to make defamatory statements, even after being held accountable in court, could play a significant role in the Central Park Five's case. If the Central Park Five's legal team can demonstrate a pattern of behavior where Trump repeatedly makes false and defamatory statements without regard for the truth, it could strengthen their case and lead to a significant damages award. Trump's history of defamation cases could also be used to show that monetary damages are necessary to deter him from making further false statements in the future. The strength of the case. Given the facts of the case, the Central Park Five's defamation lawsuit against Trump appears to be on solid legal ground. Trump's statements were not only false but were made with reckless disregard for the truth, which is the standard required to prove defamation against a public figure. The fact that the Central Park Five have already been exonerated and received a settlement from the city of New York further supports their case. Additionally, the harm caused by Trump's statements cannot be overstated. The Central Park Five have spent decades trying to rebuild their lives after being wrongfully convicted and imprisoned for a crime they did not commit. Trump's false statements during a presidential debate have the potential to reopen old wounds and damage their reputations once again. The emotional toll of being falsely accused and imprisoned, followed by the public dissemination of lies about their case, is likely to play a significant role in the damages portion of the lawsuit. What's next in the legal process? Civil lawsuits like this one can take years to work their way through the courts, and this case is unlikely to be any different. The legal process will begin with the discovery phase, where both sides will gather evidence, conduct depositions, and exchange documents. This phase can be lengthy, as both parties will likely seek extensive records related to Trump's statements and the Central Park Five's exoneration. Once discovery is complete, the case will move to trial, unless a settlement is reached beforehand. Given Trump's history of fighting lawsuits to the bitter end, it is unlikely that he will settle this case without a court battle. If the case does go to trial, it could become one of the most high-profile defamation cases in recent memory, given the involvement of a former president and the historical significance of the Central Park Five case. The potential fallout for Trump. If the Central Park Five are successful in their defamation lawsuit, the financial implications for Trump could be significant. Given the size of the damages awarded in the E. Jean Carroll case, it is possible that the Central Park Five could receive a similar or even larger award, depending on the extent of the harm caused by Trump's false statements. In addition to the financial fallout, a loss in this case could further damage Trump's already tarnished reputation. Trump has long positioned himself as a champion of law and order, but his involvement in the Central Park Five case has always been a black mark on his record. A court judgment against him in this case would only serve to remind the public of his role in one of the most notorious wrongful convictions in American history. Conclusion. Donald Trump's legal troubles show no signs of slowing down, and this latest defamation lawsuit from the Central Park Five could be one of the most damaging yet. With a strong case built on clear evidence of false statements, the plaintiffs have a good chance of prevailing in court. For Trump, this case is yet another reminder that his words have consequences and that his past actions continue to haunt him in the present. As the legal process unfolds, all eyes will be on the courtroom, where Trump will once again be forced to defend his actions in a high-stakes battle that could cost him millions. Whether or not this case results in a significant damages award, it is clear that the Central Park Five are not backing down in their fight for justice, and they are determined to hold Trump accountable for his reckless and harmful statements.